Draenor. And there, you're either going to team up with the Draenei of that time period, that's for the Alliance of course, or you're going to team up with the Frostwolves if you're the Horde. So that's the intro, and once we reach Draenor you can see it as it was before it got corrupted by demonic influences, before it got blown up by Ner'zhul and his portals. This planet Draenor is what we call Outland today, only it's in his full glory in the middle of the Orc-Draenei War. From the introduction trailer you could see some of Garrosh's influence. These big monsters, they're called Gron, and they were the master of the ogres. In our history the orcs teamed up with the ogres, but never with the Gron, so Garrosh has changed that. On top of the Gron, you might notice some badass technology similar to what we've seen in the Siege of Orgrimmar. Garrosh has taken blueprints with him, knowledge from the future, to upgrade this Iron Horde. On the other side, we see Velen fighting by demonic influences. In the original story, he was all about trying to get some peace going with the orcs. Sure, this eventually fought Draenor is what they were called Outlands overrun. It's in the Naru glory that he was needed for a greater Draenei war. That from the introduction trailer, you could see Draenei and Garrosh eventually lead them, these big army of light, and Velen was they were the master of the. In this reality, in our history, the orcs teamed up kicking ass and taking names, which implies that Garrosh has changed. Or perhaps the Naru, the Gron, you might notice something badass technology similar to what we see. This is not the way things were supposed to go down, and now he has the liberty with him, knowledge from the future. Don't forget that Velen has the power to see the future. On the other side, anyone knows that something is going on here. In the original story, he was saying all about joining peace going with the orcs. Sure, this eventually fought never dries out, never gets overrun. It's in the Naru glory that he was needed for a greater Draenei war. That from the introduction trailer, you could see Draenei and Garrosh eventually lead them, these big army of light, mushroom Velen was they were the master of the. In this reality, in our history, the orcs teamed up kicking ass and taking names, which implies that Garrosh is the sacred burial place of Draenei. You might notice something badass technology similar to what we see. This is not the way things were supposed to go down, and now he has the liberty broken knowledge from the future. Don't forget, those are just a few examples of the change. On the other side, anyone knows that something is going on here. In the original story, he was saying all about joining next Sure, this eventually fought never dries out, overrun. It's in the Naru glory that he was needed for a greater Draenei. That from the introduction trailer, you could see Draenei and Garrosh eventually lead them, these big army of light, mushroom Velen was they were the master. In this reality, in our history, the orcs teamed up kicking ass and taking names, which implies that Garrosh is the sacred burial place of Draenei. You might notice something badass similar to what we see. This is not the way things were supposed to go down, now he has the liberty broken knowledge from the future. Don't forget, those are just a few examples. Need to get their change. On the other side, anyone knows that something is going on here. In the original story, he was saying all about joining next Sure, this eventually fought never overrun. It's in the Naru glory that he was united. These are the from the introduction trailer, these big army of light, Iron Horde, they are the ones. In this reality, our history, orcs teamed up kicking ass and taking Draenei pretty much Garrosh holds the sacred burial place of Draenei. They are the ones. This is not the way things are supposed to go down. Now he has the liberty using knowledge from the future. Don't forget, those are just a few examples. Anyone knows that something is going on here. Who are about to enter the Iron Horde? I didn't know much about the Thunderlord clan, so I asked around on the forums. Apparently these guys are monster hunters. They hunt the giants of Draenor, they're riding on wolves, they're kicking ass. They want to join the Iron Horde. We don't want the Iron Horde to get any stronger, so we're going to have to do something about that. The Alliance will assist the Draenei. Draenei are of course led by Velen the Prophet, and this area is located in Shadowmoon Valley. On the Iron Horde Draenor, Shadowmoon Valley isn't the green fiery volcano area that we know, it's a forest. And it's always nighttime, it's always dark, and the main city that you're defending is Karabor. We know it as the Black Temple. I had the chance to talk to Bay from Final Boss TV. He was actually there at BlizzCon and he was able to check out this starting area. I asked him, is it going to be as huge as the Black Temple? He told me it's going to be even bigger. The area is under attack by the Iron Horde and Alliance needs to repel this attacking force, otherwise the Draenei won't stand a chance. The Iron Horde is going to invade from the docks and we gotta defend the city, otherwise, yeah, we're in trouble. Once that is done, it becomes your capital city, but there's another threat in the area. the Shadow Moon clan. This clan is led by Ner'zhul and it has several camps in Shadow Moon Valley. Ner'zhul is hell-bent on joining the Iron Horde and he will do anything to his people to make that a reality. We don't want that. We don't want Ner'zhul into the Iron Horde, so we're going to have to do something about it. As you can imagine, with a title like Warlord, the area is under attack by the Iron Horde and the Alliance needs to repel this attacking force. Otherwise the Draenei, what do we know about them from our reality? The Iron Horde is going to invade from the docks and we gotta defend the city. Otherwise, yeah, we're in trouble. Once that is done, it becomes your capital city, but there's another threat in the area. For now, let's just cover the basics. This clan is led by Ner'zhul and it has several camps in Shadow Moon Valley. Ner'zhul is hell-bent on joining the Iron Horde and he will do anything to his people to make that a reality. We don't want that. We don't want Ner'zhul into the Iron Horde, so we're going to have to do something about it. As you can imagine, with a title like Warlord, the area is under attack by the Iron Horde and the Alliance needs to repel this attacking force. Otherwise the Draenei, what do we know about them from our reality? The Iron Horde is going to invade from the docks and we gotta defend the city. Otherwise, yeah, we're in trouble. Once that is done, it becomes your capital city, but there's another threat in the area. For now, let's just cover the basics. This clan is led by Ner'zhul and it has several camps in Shadow Moon Valley. Ner'zhul is hell-bent on joining the Iron Horde and he will do anything to his people to make that a reality. We don't want that. We don't want Ner'zhul into the Iron Horde, so we're going to have to do something about it. As you can imagine, with a title like Warlord, the area is under attack by the Iron Horde and the Alliance needs to repel this attacking force. Otherwise the Draenei, what do we know about them from our reality? The Iron Horde is going to invade from the docks. We gotta defend the city. Otherwise, yeah, we're in trouble. Once that is done, it becomes your capital city, but there's another threat in the area. For now, let's just cover the basics. This clan is led by Ner'zhul and it has several camps in Shadow Moon Valley. Ner'zhul is hell-bent on joining the Iron Horde and he will do anything to his people to make that a reality. We don't want gains, we don't want Ner'zhul into the Iron Horde, because that is too stepped up. As you can imagine, with a title like Warlord, the area is under attack by the Iron Horde. He needs to repel this attacking force. Otherwise the Draenei, what do we know about them from our reality? The Iron Horde is going to invade from the docks. We gotta defend the city. Otherwise, yeah, we're in trouble. Once that is done, it becomes your capital city, but there's another threat in the area. For now, let's just cover the basics. This clan was led by Ner'zhul and has several camps in Shadow Moon Valley. Ner'zhul is hell-bent on joining the Iron Horde and he will do anything to his people to make that a reality. We don't want gains, we don't want Ner'zhul into the Iron Horde, kicking ass, but he is, as you can imagine, like strong. The area is under attack by the Iron Horde. What do we know about this? The Iron Horde is going to invade from the docks. We gotta defend the city. Yeah, once that is done, it becomes your capital city, but there's another threat in the area. This clan was led by Ner'zhul and has several camps in Shadow Moon Valley. Ner'zhul is hell-bent on joining the Iron Horde and he will do anything to his people to make that a reality. We don't want gains, we don't want Ner'zhul into the Iron Horde, kicking ass. As you can imagine, under attack by the Iron Horde. That is done. This clan is hell-bent on we don't want things, we but by that time it was already far too late and his apprentice Gul'dan was happy to step in and follow the orders of Kil'jaeden. Ner'zhul didn't do much to prevent any further corruption of his people because he feared Kil'jaeden and he feared for his own life. He did send a note to Durotan to prevent him from drinking the demon blood, but that's about it. When the first Horde invasion of Azeroth failed, Terran Gornfiend stepped up to Ner'zhul with a plan to create more portals to different worlds. They failed to conquer Azeroth, but other planets might not put up so much resistance, and Ner'zhul was all behind this plan. They gathered 3 artifacts from Azeroth, and in the end, Ner'zhul made his portal. Not just one portal, portals all over Draenor, and he told the orcs who were with him to step through the portal and follow him to the Promised Land. The remaining Horde was still fighting the Alliance at this time, and the others didn't want to leave their brothers behind. Ner'zhul killed one of them to get them motivated, and they reluctantly stepped through the portal to this unknown destination. Unknown to Ner'zhul though, this portal would not lead him to the Promised Land, it would lead him straight to Kil'jaeden, who still had some unfinished business with the orc who refused to follow his orders. He ripped Ner'zhul his soul in little pieces, causing agonizing pain, only to reform it and do it all over again. After a while, Kil'jaeden got bored with this and he came up with a new plan that would require Ner'zhul to be turned into the Lich King, and he would be sent off to Azeroth to weaken it and get it ready for a new invasion from the Burning Legion. After that, the events of Warcraft 3 follow, which is too much story to go into right now, but that's pretty much the backstory of Ner'zhul. On this Iron Horde Draenor, Ner'zhul is leading the Shadowmoon clan, and it's interesting to note that his description on the website says the following. His vision of a united Orcish culture has been eclipsed by the manipulation of his apprentice Gul'dan, and the bloody reality of the rising Iron Horde. If I read this right, it almost seems like he was busy getting the Horde together, like we know from our timeline. Like Kil'jaeden found the Draenei, wanted them dead, manipulated Ner'zhul into forming the Horde. Gul'dan betrayed him, and it looks like the same events are going to take place for this Iron Horde Draenor, except this time they don't drink any blood. That's just my interpretation. You could take this in a lot of ways, but what we know for sure is that Ner'zhul wants to be in this Iron Horde. He wants to be part of this, and it matches the Ner'zhul that we knew. Sure, he was manipulated by Kil'jaeden, but he had a little lust for power inside of him, and in the end he betrayed all the other orcs. It will be interesting to see what this Ner'zhul is going to do to be worthy of this Iron Horde, and they described him as the shaman to the shamans. As in, you might be a good shaman, this guy is the top dog. Gul'dan of the Storm Reaver clan, also located in Shadowmoon Valley. In our timeline, Gul'dan was the one who led the orcs down the path of demon blood, fell magic, and he didn't give a crap about his people. All he cared about was power. Power and even more power. When Ner'zhul figured out that Kil'jaeden was manipulating the orcs, he wanted out. Gul'dan was the apprentice of Ner'zhul. He found out about Ner'zhul wanting to stop all these events, and he took Ner'zhul his place in following the orders of Kil'jaeden. Kil'jaeden promised Gul'dan the good life, powers beyond his imagination, but once the orcs fulfilled their mission, killed nearly all the Draenei, Kil'jaeden just left them to their fate. It was at that moment that Medivh, under the influence of Sargeras, contacted Gul'dan and told him about Azeroth and how to build a portal to it. The Horde invades, and Gul'dan decides to spy in the mind of Medivh in search of more power. Unfortunately, at that moment Medivh gets killed because his friends found out that he was corrupted, and this put Gul'dan into a coma. In the meantime, Durotan informs Orgrim Doomhammer about Gul'dan's betrayal, and Orgrim steps up. He takes out Blackhand and becomes the war chief of the Horde. Now Gul'dan's in trouble, but he manages to convince Doomhammer to keep him alive, and in exchange he creates more powerful troops, the first Death Knights. In the end, Gul'dan's lust for power would strike a devastating blow to the first Horde invasion. As they march to lay siege to the capital of Lordaeron, Gul'dan takes his troops and sets off to the tomb of Sargeras in search of more power. Orgrim Doomhammer, hell-bent on keeping the honor in the Horde and making an example of those who don't uphold that honor, is forced to send troops after Gul'dan. This forces the Horde to fall back, and eventually they would be defeated. Gul'dan's fate was sealed though when he entered the tomb of Sargeras, as the demons there took great pleasure in killing this treacherous orc. However, that wasn't the last time we saw Gul'dan. Even his skull manipulated events and allowed the Horde to invade for a second time, and eventually giving Illidan the power needed to take out Tychondrius in Warcraft 3. Some of you already noticed that Gul'dan still has a green skin. On this Iron Horde Draenor, Gul'dan is going to be the only one who drinks the demon juice, and as he offers it to the others, events don't go as planned. Garrosh prevents the orcs from drinking, and this places Gul'dan in a very awkward position. He's an outcast now of the Horde, so his Shadow Council, the construction of the Dark Portal, all of those plans are a no-go. Gul'dan is not happy with that, and neither is Kil'jaeden. Yes, Gul'dan and Kil'jaeden are still on the phone with each other, and that should lead to some very interesting story development. If they do it right, Gul'dan's character should be manipulative, backstabbing, and willing to do anything to get to that power. It's interesting that Gul'dan is located in Shadowmoon Valley, together with Ner'zhul and his clan, and even the Draenei and the Alliance main city. I wonder how that's going to play out. Blackhand of the Blackrock clan, located in Gorgrond. Blackhand from our time was the very first war chief of the Horde, but in reality he was a puppet of Gul'dan who ruled behind the curtains. When the orcs started to magically age their children to get more troops, Blackhand was one of the first to offer his kids, and this created some messed up adults with the mind of children. It was Blackhand who led the Horde into their first invasion of Azeroth, but later Gul'dan's betrayal would be known to Orgrim Doomhammer, and Orgrim was the second in command to Blackhand, and he killed Blackhand to take the title of War Chief and lead the orcs down a more honorable path. You can still fight a child of Blackhand in Upper Blackrock Spire, located in Blackrock Mountain. People already asked me if this clan was named after the mountain or the mountain after the clan, but this is not the case. Both of them already had their names, and Blackhand just saw it as a good omen that they shared a common name. Blackhand and his clan on the Iron Horde Draenor are the backbone of the Iron Horde. Now that Gul'dan isn't manipulating him, Blackhand is a more honest orc. He and his clan are the smiths, and they are the ones who took Garrosh's blueprints of the future and turned them into weapons for the Iron Horde. One of the raids that we're going to get is called Blackrock Foundry, where we are going to dismantle this foundry of weapons and armor creation, and in the end we'll face off against Blackhand himself. Kargav of the Shattered Hand clan, located in Spires of Arak. Kargav from our time has a pretty interesting story. In the time period where Ner'zhul is trying to make all these new portals, Kargav was left behind to stall the Alliance who were trying to stop Ner'zhul. This allowed Ner'zhul to make his way to the Black Temple, but in the end Kargav would realize that he was left to die, so he took his people to Nagrand to regroup and find more troops to battle the Alliance. There he asked Great Mother Gaia if there were any able orcs in the area to fight with them. But Gaia wasn't happy with everything that happened to the orcs. The formation of the hordes, the corruption of the planet, the use of demonic powers, and she thought that the Alliance invading their planet was their own damn fault. She told him to look around and see that these orcs were sick and not able to fight. To Kargav, they seemed to have all their limbs required, and as long as they could hold a weapon, that would do. At that moment, one orc, sick with rat pox, walks up to them and asks what Kargav is doing here. Did something happen to his father? And as he was talking, he fell over and started to puke out blood. Young Garrosh Hellscream was not able to join the war effort because he was sick. But Kargav realized that these orcs would be of no use. "You pathetic weaklings," he snarled. "Do the Horde a favor and die here. If you can't help defend your people, you have no right to live." Nice going, Kargav. Thanks for messing up Garrosh like that for us. And over time, Kargav would serve Manoroth and later serve Illidan. You can still fight him in the shattered halls of Hellfire Citadel. Kargav on this Iron Horde Draenor got enslaved by ogres to work in the mines, but one day he had enough. He used his own chains to strangle one of the ogres, and then he cuts off his own hand to set himself free. After that, he turns around to the others and asks who's next, and they're all like, "We're with you, man," so they all escape from those mines, and this clan is formed by many different clans, who were all enslaved, and it's a very dark and pain-minded clan. Many more followed his example of cutting off a body part and replacing it with some kind of weapon, and they don't mind inflicting some of that pain on their enemies. Kil'jaeden of the Bleeding Hollow clan, located in Tanaan Jungle. In our timeline, Kil'jaeden was at the front of the war. He was one of the first to drink from the demon blood, he was there during the first invasion, and he was there when the Horde attacked for the second time to collect the artifacts Ner'zhul required to make his portals. Despite that, Kil'jaeden was an older chieftain, and with age comes wisdom, so he was more unwilling to just throw away lives for the war. To compare that to someone, Kil'jaeden didn't mind fighting, but he wasn't a Grom Hellscream. He wasn't all about Loktar Ogar, let's go fight stuff and doesn't matter what happens. He was older, he was wiser, he was Grum as we met him later when he teams up with Thrall. Anyways, that's besides the point. The younger orcs, they saw this as a weakness, which caused Kilrock to kill at least 3 of his own sons and 2 of his grandsons, who thought they could rule the clan better than him. Orcish rules, man. If you want to rule the clan, you gotta take out the war chief, which Thrall has changed, of course. But those orcish rules are pretty damn brutal. Eventually, Kilrock would join Ner'zhul and Teron Gornfiend as they made their way to the Black Temple to start creating these portals. Right behind them were the Alliance forces, so they made their way to Auchindoun, despite Kilrock his fears. Don't make the mistake of thinking that he was a coward. Auchindoun is just a very scary place, and Kilrock believed that going there would mean their doom. Eventually, he managed to stall the Alliance forces, allowing Ner'zhul and Teron Gornfiend to escape and continue their journey to the Black Temple. It was there, in the Shadow Labyrinth, that Kilrock lost his life by the hands of Danav Trollbane. On this Iron Horde Draenor, the Bleeding Hollow clan is a very shamanistic clan, but also a very tribal one. They live in the jungle, they're kinda out of their mind, and the shamanism that they practice is much more dark and savage. They have a ritual that each new war chief goes through, and this ritual is described as being in a Blair Witch cave, all gruesome stuff around them, and they would gouge out their own eye to receive a vision of their death. And this vision would influence, dictate how they rule the clan for the rest of their life. Pretty damn messed up. Also, fun fact, the warlock spell Eye of Kilrock is named after this Kilrock. For now, that's enough information on these warlords. Let's take a look at some of the other characters that have been confirmed to be part of the expansion. Like the warlords, most of them have a huge background and we can't go into full details, so I'll tell you the general backstory behind the character and later they'll get their individual videos. Garrosh Hellscream from our time is of course going to be on this Iron Horde Draenor, because he's going to set these events in motion. Our Garrosh didn't fight with the first Horde because he was sick. In the Burning Crusade, Thrall found him and told him about his father and the Horde on Azeroth. Garrosh travels back with Thrall after hearing these amazing stories, but seeing this new Horde confuses him. Trolls? Blood Elves? Democracy? Are you kidding me? And about this alliance, why aren't you conquering them? Thrall places him in charge and Garrosh tries to reform the Horde to his vision as he knew it from the old days, and as we all know, he got his butt kicked after the siege. Now he's going back in time, back to the time period of these legendary orcs of old. But will they be as he remembers them? Will his fantasy of this old Horde become a reality? They've explained that although he is part of the story and he is going to set things in motion, he's not the main guy. There is a guy behind the guy and they've confirmed that he won't be the end boss. He is going to be used to tell the story, but he won't be the main guy. As we saw in Mist of Pandaria. Someone in the Q&A asked if they will deal with the similarities between Garrosh and Grum, their story. Places him in charge and Garrosh tries to reform the Horde to his vision as he knew it from the old days, and as we all know, he got his butt kicked after the siege. Now he's going back in time, back to the time period of these legendary orcs of old. But will they be as he remembers them? Will his fantasy of this old Horde become a reality? They've explained that although he is part of the story and he is going to go into right now, he is going to get a rude wake-up call. Thrall is unique amongst the orcs. He is an orc, but also very much a human, which is completely different than where the Horde and the orcs started out from. They explained that they didn't like where Thrall is at the moment, as in shamanistic, happy family Thrall. They want to place him back into the armor and solve lots of problems with his hammer. It's going to be fun to see how Thrall's going to explain why he's green. Remember that on this Iron Horde Draenor, the only one with a green color is Gul'dan, possibly his crew, and Gul'dan tried to corrupt all the other orcs. But Garrosh prevented that. As far as I understand it, Garrosh and Thrall are not going to tell them that they are their children from the future, so I wonder how he's going to explain all these green orcs. I'm most excited to see how Thrall's going to react to Gul'dan. If anyone remembers the Cataclysm quest where Thrall splits up into the elements, he hasn't exactly forgiven what Gul'dan did to his people.
My parents, murdered before I could know them, betrayed. Gul'dan, if I must burn my way across the afterlife, I will find you in whatever hell you've hidden. I will have my revenge. Do you hear me?
Thrall shamanism and shamanism in general is also going to play a role in the expansion. These Orcish shamans from Draenor are the real deal. It's a big part of their culture. They want to make it more mythical and diverse because now it's pretty much all about the elements and elemental lore. For example, they want to make it more diverse by making one clan very primal, the other very spiritual, the other out of their minds and cutting out their own eyes to receive visions. They want to make it more mythical by, for example, Ner'zhul goes to talk to the western wind, instead of just an element that you can actually see in front of him. By the way, Drekvar, the shaman who taught Thrall all about shamanism on Azeroth,